don't jinx it. Go down and like the video. It worked last week. We got 500 likes on a preview video last week before the Texans took on the Colts, and they got the dub. So I'm not saying that's the reason why, but I'm also not saying that's the reason why. So don't jinx it. Don't be that guy who all you had to do was like the video, and the Texans would have got a dub on Sunday Night Football. All fun and games here, but obviously we'll be live on Sunday night. Texans, Bears, prime time. Carrie Underwood, sing me that soundtrack one time, because CJ Stroud, the Texans, they're ready for prime time. I'll be live. I want to see you there. Make sure you hit that sub button. Make sure you like today's video, and let's talk the latest Texans news and rumors. Coming up, I have 5 under-the-radar Texans players that could make or break this Sunday Night Football matchup. I'll let you know who those guys are, but first, let's talk about these two teams, and let's talk about the injury reports and the injured guys coming up. Well, there's a couple guys. You might not be able to see it that well, but Nico Collins showed up today with an illness. Juice Scruggs, he's dealing with a groin injury. And then obviously we have Dalton Schultz sitting out his second practice with that ankle injury, and another week where MJ Stewart is on the injury report as well. Talking about the Bears injuries, I know yesterday's video I misspoke. Rome Odunze, I looked at the highlights and I was like, oh, did Rome not play? Rome Odunze did play in week 1. He just got injured. He has a knee injury, did not practice today. So his availability is up in the air. Same with Keenan Allen. Will he be available for Sunday night for the Chicago Bears? This is the Bears' full injury report. And obviously the 2 wide receivers are the highlighted guys that I want y'all to look at moving forward. Without further ado, let's get into the under-the-radar Texans that could go off. I told you about Dalton Schultz injury. Does that mean a rookie, a guy in Cade Stover, could have a career game? Obviously, only his second game, so any game I feel like would be his career game so far. But anyways, I think Cade Stover could absolutely go off up against the Chicago Bears, especially if this guy right here isn't ready to go in Dalton Schultz. If he's not ready to play, if he's not going on Sunday, you could see Stover get a lot of action. Obviously, he's not the only person in that tight end room, and if Schultz isn't ready to go, maybe, they end up bringing somebody up from the practice squad as well. But I think this could be a come-out game for Cade Stover. He obviously has that connection with CJ Stroud from his time at Ohio State, but could we see him be heavily used with a guy like Dalton Schultz injured? I don't think Nico Collins will be out on Sunday, but God forbid if Nico Collins is out too, that's 2 weapons in the receiving game. Insert a rookie like Cade Stover. Could he have a day up against the Chicago Bears? I want to ask you this, though. If Dalton Schultz isn't ready to go, who do you think steps up and is that tight end 2 for the Texans? Do you think it's Cade Stover? Do you think it's Brevin Jordan? Who do you think gets the bulk of the snaps up against the Bears if there is no Dalton Schultz? Be respectful. Be mature. Type BJ for Brevin Jordan. Don't laugh. Type BJ for Brevin Jordan, CS for Cade Stover. Who do you think steps up if Dalton Schultz isn't ready to go? This guy I have been pleasantly surprised with all offseason. Former first-round pick Kenyon Green has looked fantastic. And I really think up against the Chicago Bears, we could see another week of Joe Mixon dominance. And that starts with the guys up front, mainly Kenyon Green opening up holes. I watched a ton of tape on Green this past week of his play up against the Indianapolis Colts, and he was mauling guys over. He was getting pancakes, and he looked fantastic in the pass game. A 79.0 pass block grade per PFF, 38 pass block snaps, 0 pressures allowed. He did really good, and he wasn't going up against scrubs. The Colts' interior defensive line actually, I think, is better than their edge rushers. So for Kenyon Green to put up these stats up against the Colts proves to me that he is ready to be a starter in the NFL, and he is going to solidify that left side of the Texans offensive line, sandwiched in between Laramie Tunsil and Juice Scruggs. I really do think Kenyon Green is coming into his own in this NFL, and I'm really excited to see what he can do up against the Bears. How many, running lanes he can create for Joe Mixon. up against that Chicago defense. I'll get to more under-the-radar players in just a moment, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsor, the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. You guessed it, it's Prize Picks. Get started with them today. That link is down in the comment section and description of today's video. Football season, it's back. Get started with Prize Picks today, where you can turn your football knowledge into some cold, hard cash. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. And if you're like, I have no idea where to even start, Jeremy, could you please guide me along my daily fantasy sports journey? Well, I got you covered. I have some great picks on tap for you this week. If you're like, hey, I don't know what to do, well, hey, just follow Papa Chuggs. I got you covered. Caleb Williams, they actually have a deal on Caleb Williams all throughout the month of September. I know he's going up against the Texans, but he's going to get a passing yard. Maybe he doesn't. If he doesn't, I won't be mad. I'll be okay if Caleb Williams does not get a single passing yard up against the Texans. But if he does, it's good for my Prize Picks. I also took Joe Mixon, 79.5 rush yards. He had over 100 last week up against the Colts. Yeah, I'm going to pick Joe Mixon to eat this week. Tank Dell, 3.5 receptions. I actually feel even better about choosing the more on this after that news about Nico Collins, because I think Tank Dell, he was involved a little bit in week 1. I think he gets a little bit more involved in week 2. And CJ Stroud, 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's cake. Give me the more on that as well. You can use my picks. You can fade my picks. Just do it over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So what's stopping you? Get playing today. Prize Picks. Run your game. Next up, Mario Edwards Jr. And I know it says defensive end underneath his name right there, but he plays a little bit of the defensive tackle position for your Houston Texans team. In week 1 up against the Colts, 1 tackle and 1 sack for Mario Edwards Jr., filling in nicely for Denico Autry. Remember, we have Denico Autry coming in just a couple of weeks, but Edwards has been holding it down until then. And as I look at this Bears offensive line, I think there's some room on the interior for him, for Foley Fatukasi, to maybe get some pressure up through the middle. I know we have 2 amazing edge rushers in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., but if you watched my video yesterday, Caleb Williams loves to get out of the pocket. He loves to extend plays. He loves to escape the pocket. And I really do think DeMeco Ryans could hold Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter back a little bit and say, hey, I know you want to get after him, but also we cannot let him escape the pocket. If Caleb Williams is going to beat us, have him beat us inside the pocket. So I think them playing a little bit of that contain, not letting him escape, and then you let Mario Edwards, you let Foley Fatukasi get some pressure up the middle. I think that could be a good game plan for this Texans defense going into this matchup up against the rookie in Caleb Williams. I know Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson they're going to get after him, and I do, trust their ability to get sacks and also make sure Caleb Williams doesn't break contain and get outside the pocket. But hopefully the Texans, they're able to get pressure with that 4, and hopefully Mario Edwards Jr., Foley Fatukasi, they can get some pressure up the middle and get some sacks at the defensive tackle position. Let's stick on the defensive side of the football. Calen Bullock, safety. We saw him really come out of his own in that week 1 win over the Colts. He got his first interception in his young NFL career. And let's be real here for a second. I love Jimmy Ward. I think he's a great, locker room presence. I think he's a great teammate for the guys in this locker room. But show of hands. Who trusts Jimmy Ward as the deep safety on this Texans team going up against, deep passing plays? I don't think a lot of people do, because after watching the tape up against the Colts, he was caught flat-footed multiple times, leading to those deep bombs to Alec Pierce. And I think Calen Bullock, maybe even a guy like, Eric Murray could, supplant him as a deep safety in some of those looks. I really do think it's fine. We don't have to go to it, Colin, but I really do think Calen Bullock could, surprise a lot of people and show his stuff in this game up against the Chicago Bears. Like I said, 3 tackles, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup last weekend up against the Indianapolis Colts. One of the highest graded Texans players per PFF. So look for Calen Bullock to show out again this week. I'm also excited to see Kamari Lassiter in coverage. Was tested, here and there up against the Colts, but I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, Anthony Richardson had less than 10 completions. So obviously the defensive backs did pretty well, but we just got to be able to defend the deep ball this week up against the Bears. And my last under the radar player, this is a really under the radar player, British Brooks, the running back. And I'm about to show you his stat line from last week, and you're like, running back? 1 tackle? Yes, British Brooks, he is a special teams ace for this team, and I have to give Mr. Invisible Texan on Twitter, give him a follow. He's a really good follow on Twitter. I have to give him his flowers because he gave this comparison, and I was like, I don't really see it at first. But the mentality of this guy, how he plays the game of football, reminds me a lot of one Vontae Leach. He wants to hit somebody. He wants to hit you in the mouth every single play. And we saw it on that kickoff where he absolutely busted that Colts return man. British Brooks is somebody who just wants to go out there and do whatever whatever this coaching staff wants him to do and inflict pain on the opposition. I'm really excited to see how they get him involved in different ways on offense too. If he's able to, step in as fullback and be a lead blocker, be a pass protection guy for CJ Stroud here and there. I think he can be a really good weapon in a lot of different places, and we saw it on special teams too. British Brooks, I'm really excited to see this guy get on the field. He's a fan favorite for a reason because he plays with a ton of heart, a ton of tenacity, and I want to see some more British Brooks highlights week 2 up against the Chicago Bears. Now, I gave you some under-the-radar guys. Tell me, who's an X factor for the Texans up against the Bears in week 2? Give me a name. Let me know. Is it somebody that I mentioned? Is it somebody that I maybe didn't mention? Maybe it's a Kamari Lassiter. Maybe it's a, Tank Dell, Brevin Jordan, Cam Akers. I don't know. Give me a name down in the comment section. But just remember, whoever that name is, we'll be watching them live on Sunday here on the channel, here at Texans Today. A live watch party. First one of the regular season for us here at Texans Today. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of prizes, a lot of giveaways, a ton of fun watching this Texans team. So be there or be square.